Hi, this is Ali Arango of gamevisualz as well as littleguyscgi.com, and this is what you're going to learn in this tutorial today. You're going to learn how to show a variable. You're going to learn how to have your character go from an idle pose to multiple random animation poses. You can see him going through, well, he just went through a pose. There he's in another random pose there. Another pose there. Sometimes the randomness will make the same pose repeat. When I press to the right or to the left, he walks like he's supposed to, and then he goes to his idle pose, and then he goes back to his random pose. For the purposes of the demonstration of showing you this now, I have the pose set for every 4 seconds. During the tutorial, I have the random poses set for every 8 seconds. Okay, like most of the tutorials on this channel, the sprites will be provided for you. You can get to these sprites by going to littleguyscgi.com. Once you come to the page, just click on Game Visuals. What you want to do is scroll down, click on Game Assets. Scroll down again, and see where you see this player sprites right here. Click here. And then from here, when you click on this sprite animation frames button, you'll have a link to the sprites. Also, if you want to see other tutorials that I've done, if you click back, click back too far. If you go to this YouTube tutorials right here, you can click here, and then you can see other gamevisualz tutorials that I've made. Hi, this is Ali Arango of gamevisualz as well as littleguyscgi.com. Today I would like to show you how to set up random idle poses in Gdevelop 5. So let's get started. Okay, when doing these tutorials, I like to start off as much as possible from a blank slate. So what you see in front of you is the startup screen for Gdevelop. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Create a New Project. We're going to scroll down to where we see Empty Game. We're then going to look to our left, and where we see scenes, right underneath there, we see this plus button. We're going to left click on that plus button. After we did that, we see this new scene that popped up. We're going to click right where we see new scenes. We're going to left click here. Once we did that, we have this new screen in front of us with objects to the right, properties to the left. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is set up our player. So I'm going to go to the right where we see these objects. We're going to click the plus button. We're then going to look to where we see sprite. We're going to left click there. We're going to change the name of this to player. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click where we see this says click to add an animation. We're going to click the plus button to the right. So we have this first animation right here. We're going to keep clicking this plus button to bring in our animations before we set them up. So for this first animation, this will be an idle animation. See where this says don't loop? This is the one, well, we're going to have 2 animations we want to loop. This is one of them. So we're going to click don't loop, which means that this will loop. We're going to need 4 more animations. So actually 5 animations. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this plus button to bring in those 5 more animations. So there's 1, animation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're going to need 1 more animation for our walking animation frames. So we're going to click this now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up. This is going to loop. We're going to click don't loop here. This is going to be our walking animation. Now we're just going to name these. I'm going to name the random animations R and a number, which is going to stand for a random animation. So we're going to name this R1. We're going to name this R2. We're going to name this R3. We're going to name this R4. This we're going to name RI, because it's going to actually be a random idle animation. You'll see why later. And then for this animation 6, which we have set to for looping, we're going to name this walking. Okay, so now we're going to bring in these animation frames. So here's, okay, we need to name this idle. So now that we name this, we're going to bring in our animation frames. So for this idle, we're going to click this plus button here to the left. We're going to go to where our animation frames are at. You can download these animation frames for free at our website, littleguycgi.com. And knows that these will help you to follow along with this tutorial. So we're going to go to Blaster Idle. So we see all these frames right here. So we're in our Blaster Idle folder. We're going to hold Control, press A. We're then going to click Open. So now we have those frames brought in. So now we're going to our random pose 1. So we're going to click here. We're going to go to where these are located. So you're seeing where they're located at on my computer. You go to where they're located at on your computer after you download the files from littleguycgi.com. Okay, so here is random pose 1. So we're going to hold Control, press A, click Open. We don't want that to loop. Here's R2, so we're going to click plus. We're just going to where the files are at. Here's random pose 2. Hold Control, press A. We're going to click Open. We're going to scroll down. Here's random pose 3. We're going to click plus. So here's random pose 3, Control A, click Open. Here's 4, so this is going to be random pose 4. So here's random pose 4. Hold Control, press A, click Open. And I said this, we already have the idle pose, so we actually don't need this. We're going to leave that blank, and that should be, you know what, we'll get rid of this. We'll click the delete button. Just making sure that I am deleting the right one. Yeah, okay, so now the animation 5 will be walking. We still have our loop set, so that's good. So we'll click the plus button. Because we have our walking frames here, we'll hold Control, press A. We'll then click Open. So we have all of our animation frames here. So now that we have these here, what we want to do is go to where we see behaviors. So we clicked on behaviors. See this purple line is underneath behaviors. Now that that's underneath behaviors, we'll click plus. And then we're going to go to these, of these list of behaviors, we're going to platform behaviors. So we're going to left click here. And now the default settings for this are fine. We're going to click OK. So now we have our player as well as the animations that we currently need to work through this tutorial. Okay, so we're going to left click on the player. So I left clicked and let go. Now I'm left clicking and dragging the player out onto the screen. I'm rolling my mouse wheel back. Now I'm holding shift. I'm going right to this corner here. I'm still holding shift, and while holding shift from this corner, I'm dragging to make this player character smaller. Hold shift again. make the player character smaller. So now I'm going to left click to deselect the player character.